need has been identified, and Frank Goes first can help explain that need and why it's necessary.
Okay.
If it's not going to be here to answer questions later,
Excuse
he's
me.
leaving.
Excuse me, you're out of order, Ms. Rana. Go ahead. Director Dudley.
Through you, Madam Chair. Fielder, in answer to your question, this change order is being added to the existing contract that we have for the jail renovation. The jail director's in back of me, so can you help me with this? This contract, as you recall, was also part of the Hudson County agreement that you approved at the latter part of December, beginning of January of last year, that allowed us to clear pods so that contractor could go in and do much needed work that had been actually since 1986, I believe, 89. That jail has been there, and there's not been any work done on any of the pods and everything. As you recall, you did a kitchen renovation recently. That was the first time any major work was done there since the building went up in '89. As part of the change order, there are things in it as examples of the windows. A lot of the outside windows, or the windows that you see when you walk by the building, are in desperate need of being reset, refit, and caulked because there are leaks that occur. It is not just a matter of just doing it from the inside. They all have to be done from the outside of the building. So obviously bringing the necessary equipment and material there to do that in a secure facility. That's about $887,000 worth of the change order. There are things that when the contractor got in there, and again, let me say that this overall scope spanned 2 jail directors. So if you recall, Director Croce was here years ago, and when Director Reardon was hired and brought in, a lot of these specs were already set, the scope of work was set, and as this work started to commence, doing due diligence as he does, he noticed that there were some things in there that were just absolutely not acceptable in a correctional facility, and asked for changes. In addition to that, as I've said a moment ago, since you've not done or no work has been completed at all since 1989, obviously if you are able to clear a pod, you should do everything you can that needs to be done at one time, so you never have to do this again, or at least not do it again in the next 5 years. One of those things is like painting. We have the opportunity to do that. That's part of this overall scope change. Things that were assumed, doors that could be refitted. When they got in and started to look at them, they were just not acceptable, could not be reused. So I can have, obviously Brian is better at the correctional side of this than I am. We do have Phil here to answer any questions too. What I will say is, my final comment is that the contractor is certifying as part of the agreement that all of this work needs to be done. It provides for a better living environment for the people that are in our care, and it is work that is long overdue in a facility that size. And just let me remind you, when this jail was built, I may be the only one that's been built. It was built to accommodate a little over 500 inmates. Since its opening, its inception, I believe, probably handled double that. As you heard earlier, some of us have seen populations as high as 1,200. So you had a use of the building that basically was 200% of capacity from just about the day it opened. So in any environment, the wear and tear in a facility like that just can't be calculated. So that's the reason for these types of things. And I don't know if anyone wants to add, or if you need any further explanation, I'll turn it over to you.
Maybe you could also speak to the schedule as to how long this is going to take.
Better to get it.
Good evening, Madam Chair, fellow freeholders. I'm Bob Pasquale. I'm the president of Pinnacle. We're managing the construction for you here. The extent of work that was just described. is roughly 18-month duration remaining, if you will. There's 10 total pods, and it's roughly about a month and a half per pod to complete that work. And the caulking work that was described is done concurrently to the interior pod renovation. So we have roughly 18 months remaining, which would take us to, say, October of next year for completion. And the cost for that extension is for the general construction contractor that's submitting this change order. His costs are inclusive in this change for those general conditions to perform this work.
So it's about 18 months.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and everything should be complete.
Yes. Pods will be completed, all renovation work within the pods. And then there is a phase 3 that comes up after that, which is the replacement of the control center.
That's not part of the,
No, it's not.
is it fair to say that this is the one and only change order with the, as it relates to this project?
Yes, to the extent that barring no unforeseen crazy conditions that
Well, I would think
this should cover.
we're spending it at, 2.1 million, that I can't imagine what else
I would not expect
you
to be
could
up in front
find,
of you again.
at this point.
We're using the pod that we're in right now. We use that as the baseline of what needs to be done, and we try to do our due diligence to be inclusive of really what needs to be done, the caulking, the painting, the epoxy flooring, everything that's needed. So the answer to your question is there should not be another change order.
And just to add to I heard phase 3 mentioned, there's certain things that we need to do while the housing area is empty. We're going to do some of the phase 3 work now that the housing unit is empty, because I'm not emptying it again a year and a half from now to go back and start phase 3. I'm not going to start. We're not going to go through this operation. We really have to just seize the opportunity that the housing area is unoccupied to get in there and run conduit, replace certain electronic components that will be necessary to be replaced in phase 3 when we start moving towards the implementation of camera systems in the jail and things along those lines, to bring us up into the modern ages of correction. Now, while the housing area is empty, Bob knows not to come to me once I put inmates back on the 12th floor and say, I need to do this, this, and this, which he knows I can't do while there's inhabitants running around in the jail doing what inmates do. We have to do it now. And we're going to do it now. It's the most logical thing to do. It's going to cost us a lot more money if we think we're going to empty out a pot again. We don't know that these population reduction numbers are going to stay where they're at. We hope so. The issues that we put forth are certainly operating and working very, very well right now. My hope is that things will get better once we get a full complement of judicial resources across the street with the naming and hiring of judges and so forth. I think it can only get better. But I can't guarantee that. This housing area is empty. If there's things that need to be done that I know from a correction standpoint can't be done while I got guys running around or girls running around. We need to do it now, and that's one of the reasons why we need to change it.
Bill Jadala?
I don't understand how come these repairs weren't anticipated before the pod was empty. Can that be explained to me?
I wasn't around when the scope of this work was done, but there's been deterioration from the time that the scope of work was put together and when we actually started doing the work. I'll cite one example, the shower doors. The scope was out there that the shower doors would be refurbished. By the time we went and started doing the work, there was no refurbishing these shower doors. They were rusted, they were rotted. You have a correctional facility that has been historically overused since the time it was open. And we've done nothing towards the deterioration of the showers just happened around us. They were not designed to provide that many showers. They fell apart in front of our eyes. The ventilation systems have to be replaced now. Once we got in there, the ductwork, the motors, the belts.
Yeah, that's correct.
Everything has to be replaced. The design of the doors to add to the ventilation of the shower itself. In some cases, we're not putting doors back. We're going to put swing style, like saloon type doors to supply the adequate level of privacy, but yet increase the amount of ventilation that the shower gets, so that the scene doesn't just continue to rot everything around it. I know it's a big number, but there's a lot of work that's in that number. Painting. I can't paint the housing unit in a jail that is lacking ventilation when I have inmates living in the housing unit. If we all had to stay in this room and not leave, and I paint the walls, am I going to get complaints? I say so. Certain things that have to be done when a housing unit is empty. Painting was not in the scope. I can't answer as to why. I'm demanding it get done. I prescribe to a philosophy. If you walk into a jail and it's dirty, it's not well run. If you walk into a jail that's dirty, it's not well run, period. I prescribe to keeping a clean jail. The places that I've been able to paint, the places that I've been able to rehab, the places that I've been able to put new rugs down, the places that I've been able to put new tiles down, we've done it. I can't do anything in the housing areas when they're occupied. This is my one and only chance to get it done.
Any other questions for you, Alderman Jalo?
I suppose I'll get that answer as to my question as to how come it wasn't in scope. His answer was he wasn't here, so I understand that.
Try to address that. I do believe, I wasn't here initially when this project was designed. I believe it goes back to '02, and the recent architect picked up these design in 2006. In addition to areas, as Brian had mentioned, that had increased in deterioration over that period of time from the original design, the access to the jail was limited in terms of investigating all of these areas. And it wasn't until the first pod, which is on the 13th and 12th floor, which is unoccupied currently, was safe and secure and to be completely investigated, that some of these areas were uncovered. And I think that's a piece of what you're seeing here. When you're able to go in and 100% access these areas and determine the extent of the repairs that were necessary, it was considerably more than what was anticipated originally when you couldn't view all of them.